Welcome to The Exhale, a podcast for ambitious women who are ready to stop running on empty and start leading from a place of calm, confident clarity. I'm your host, Marina Kay, executive coach, breathwork facilitator, and founder of Women Who Breathe. And each week, we host conversations that make women's lives easier. We help women end cycles of burnout through holistic health and leadership coaching. This is your space to slow down, take care of yourself, and remember who you are underneath all the doing. You've been holding it together for everyone else, and you deserve to finally exhale. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of the Exhale podcast. I am so excited to be sharing this project with you. This has been so many years in the making, and I'm just so excited to be here with my dear friend Tamy Vo, founder of Vulva, who is a fellow amazing woman entrepreneur here in Austin, who has a beautiful business that supports women. Tamy, I'll let you say hi.
Thanks for letting me say hi, Marina. I'm joking. That was a beautiful intro. Thank you. So happy to be here and excited that this is happening. I know you've been, this has been on your heart for a minute. And so I'm excited to see how you continue to support women the way that you do.
Yeah, I want to have you introduce yourself a little bit more and the work that you do as well. And I wanted to just first share with everyone what they can expect from this first season. And the first one is really going to be centered on women's health. And I wanted to create this show for women who are ambitious, who are multi-passionate, and the outcome of these conversations, I hope to be that more women realize that we can have it all, that it probably looks different season to season and woman to woman, but I want every woman to know that even if you're building amazing things, if you're creating a company, leading a team, or wanting to leave a legacy behind after you leave this life, that you can also have a beautiful family, beautiful health, that you can be a mom. And all of those things are super important to me. And it's really been a journey of, you know, with the work that I do in women's health and coaching and breathwork facilitation to help more women uncover that in themselves and really know that, you know, when we put health at the center, when we put ourselves at the center of our life, all things in life get better. So your work, your career, your relationships, it all gets better when you put yourself first.
And that's so true. We can't be pouring from an empty cup. And I think especially as women, as natural nurturers and caretakers, and that can like multitask in our sleep, it's so easy to put people first. It's so easy to care for everyone and be pouring from an empty cup. I mean, I think all of us have heard this time and time. They'll say you can have 1,000 problems in your life, but when you have a health problem, then you have one problem. And so if you're able to put our health first, take care of us so we can take care of others, that's so true.
Yeah.
Well said.
I couldn't agree more. So Tamy kindly agreed to do a little bit of a reverse interview today.
Kindly, gladly.
I will be interviewing some amazing guests on the upcoming episodes of the show. And I wanted to kick off the season with really having everyone ground in, you know, what to expect and the work that I do and getting to know a little bit more about breathwork, which is really core to what I teach, what breathwork is, what women can take away from it, why it's one of the best practices and best modalities that I found for helping women connect with their bodies and really talk a little bit about my journey. But before we get there, I'd love for you to share a little bit about the work that you're doing that I'm so inspired by.
Thank you. I'm so inspired by you too. And it's so funny right now when you said breath work, I took a deep breath. Remember to breathe.
That's the goal. If you're listening right now, just take a deep breath, do a long exhale. That's literally the goal of the show, is to connect us back to that.
Yeah. So thanks, Marina, for having me here. Hi, everybody. My name is Tamy Vo. I'm the founder of Vulva, which is a marketplace platform for non-toxic feminine care products. My intention with that really is to help women reduce their exposure to chemicals that cause infertility, hormonal disruption, cancer. It infuriates me that most of our options in major retailers are toxic, even though labeled organic. And I think we know that. But how are women able to choose better when there aren't better options? And so the marketplace is a place where, like, I got you, baby.
I love that.
And then I think beyond this, the thing that I do, I think as me as a person, I'm just somebody who wants women to feel that they're fully loved, seen, cherished, chosen, and beautiful, and beautifully and wonderfully made. So that's a little bit about me.
I love that. And we have so much alignment between our work, and I'm so passionate about clean beauty and clean care for women, whether it's feminine care, body care. There's just so much that we absorb and that we're sold every single day, right? And so I think it's so important to provide some of that education and actual products that women can feel safe using.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so today, my role here is to really shine a light on you, Marina, and have everybody get to know you. I feel blessed that I do get to know you both in a professional scape and personal. And so I just want everyone to also see the beauty that I get to see all the time. And so before we dive into today, I'd love for you to bring us up to speed on how you got here, your background, your history, and then we'll start there.
Yeah. So it's been quite a journey of about, I would say, 10 years. I've had my business, my coaching business, for the past 6 years, but I've been building up to that and learning and studying and just going on my own personal journey with health long before I actually left the corporate world. But that's where my background begins, is in the corporate environment. So I did HR consulting, program management. The last career that I had in the corporate world was actually at WeWork headquarters. And I love that experience. Usually people want to hear all about that and want to hear the scoop about what happened and how it was.
Yeah, tell us what happened.
I honestly only have really good things to say. Obviously, things didn't go according to plan. And there's a lot of people that were really kind of hurt in the process, both emotionally and stress level wise. But I think for me, I learned so much from it. So I was at WeWork headquarters working closely with Adam's team and our executive team. And those were some of the most exciting times of my career. I was taking on so much. I was well respected. There was a lot of really exciting projects that I got to do. The turning point was, though, that my body really couldn't keep up with that level of like the goals and the ambition and the drive that I had. And so that's really where I started to notice some of the signs and symptoms in my body that were telling me that something was wrong. And that's where my health journey began. And then over time, through practices like yoga and mindfulness, and then jumping over to breathwork, obviously being a breathwork practitioner for the past 5 years, guiding others, hosting events, practicing myself, learning and growing in the space. It's been so eye-opening to see how much better we can feel. Like, that was just not something that I ever even realized when I was in the corporate world. I was living with chronic stress, with anxiety, with heart palpitations, so many different things that, honestly, looking back, it's like I had a different body.
Wow.
Like right now, I feel so much better, clear, calm, grounded. There's this excitement that I feel every single day. Not to say that, I never felt that before, but now it just comes from this place where I feel like I'm doing something I'm really meant to be doing. And that definitely is unique to this time in my life. I felt like I was doing and achieving a lot of things for other people, and not so much for myself. Like, I wasn't honoring what I actually wanted to do. And then, over the past 6 years, I started my business. I've been coaching a lot of executives, both men and women. Over the past year, I shifted to really focusing on women and women's health and women in leadership roles. And so now I have a breathwork community both here in Austin, where we do monthly breathwork events for women, and the online community is something that I'm really excited to expand. So if wellness is not accessible to someone who's listening to this, maybe where you live doesn't have this abundance of options that we have here in Austin, as far as wellness and self-care goes, then you can join from anywhere in the world. You can breathe with us online. There's courses and content that I've put together that could support women exactly through what I went through, and to hopefully find themselves again. So that's what Women Who Breathe is all about.
Beautiful. What a journey getting there. And a couple of things I just want to highlight from what you said is that there were symptoms that you experienced during that time of striving. And not that striving is bad at all. I think there's that in all of us. But to the point where your body was telling you no, the heart palpitations, the chronic stress, the anxiety. Is that what you said that you're feeling? And maybe like for someone that's listening, like if you are experiencing those things too, maybe that's your body telling you something different. But the beauty of the contrast that you just shared with us, the heart palpitations, anxiety, stress, to the calm groundedness of your alignment to what you're doing now. And if we can all be moving in that way of like calm, grounded, peace, alignment, like it could really be that easy.
Yeah.
So with that, why did you start your business?
So for me, it was a really long journey. Honestly, starting my business is the scariest thing I've ever done. Like, this is me fully doing the thing while being completely afraid of it.
Let's go.
It's been a long time building up to even doing the podcast. I've wanted to do this forever. And so I'm one of those people that, I know that if something is an idea in my mind, at this point, I almost know that I'm going to have to act on it because it's not going away. So for me in the corporate world, and I always tell this to women in case someone does want to change careers or do something different, like if something was put on your heart and it keeps coming back and you think about it and you dream about it and you find yourself in meetings and you're daydreaming about doing something else, it's probably not going away. And for me, I tried to make it go away. I tried to stuff it down for years. So from consulting to WeWork, I was always trying to really get myself on board with, I'm so good at this. I'm really recognized. I was always getting the promotions. I was always getting like these huge stretch assignments. So I was trying to convince myself that like, no, why don't we just make this work, right? I have my master's degree in HR. I've laid all this groundwork. Why not just stay on this track? And it was just this theme that kept coming back over and over again, where it was just undeniable. In my 20s, I started to dive in on all things holistic health. That's when I got my certifications in coaching and mindfulness and yoga. I went to every single Tony Robbins event, did Landmark Forum, I did all the things, read all the books. And it was just this moment where I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to have to do it. I think I'm going to have to start my own business.
Yeah.
So leading up to that, it was probably like 5 or 6 years until I finally had the courage to do that. And looking back, for sure the best decision that I've ever made. Even though the fear doesn't ever go away, like I think there's still aspects that I'm fearful of or worried about, or it's tough. Like having your own business, figuring out your own path is not easy, and that's, I don't think, ever going to fully go away. But I think the reason I feel so different in my body now is even the stress that I feel, I know it's for this specific cause that I'm so passionate about, which is connecting more women to better health and to the wisdom of their body. Yes. So it almost feels like maybe the stress now, I want to say, is like more worth it than it was in the past.
Yeah.
And I want to be honest about that because I don't think stress ever fully goes away. I talk about burnout and stress a lot. And I think a lot of people have this misconception that we're just going to get rid of all the stress in our life. And that's not the case, right? Breathwork's not going to support you with not feeling stressed ever again. It's going to support you with feeling so much better and knowing what to do when the stress happens. And hopefully over time, finding stress that's more purposeful.
Yeah. Purposeful stress, not just, because it's definitely a different feeling between striving for something and it burning you down towards striving towards something or building towards something, creating towards something that's actually giving you energy, even though you're stressed about it. You're like, this is worth it.
Yeah.
Something that you said there, I wanted to touch on. Oh my goodness, I just blanked out. Well, it'll come if it's meant to be. It'll come back. It'll come back. But I would love to know too. So what can we expect from the first season of this show?
Yeah. So the things that I'm passionate about talking is obviously stress and burnout. So we already know that. I want to make sure that fewer women reach that place where burnout is happening and that you're able to spot the signs and symptoms of things going wrong well before something actually happens. I've worked with so many amazing women who find me when they've reached that threshold, and I just want to minimize that, right? Whether it's needing to leave and take a sabbatical because they like completely can't, they're exhausted, right? And completely like running on empty. I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And then fertility is something that is really just dear to my heart. And I think it's because I've also had a number of clients who are building something that they believe in, they really deeply care about. Maybe they're an entrepreneur or again, a team leader. And then they reach a place where they're ready to think about the fertility journey, but they find out that they're either not able to conceive easily or right away, or their ovarian reserve is diminished, and it's not something that they even realized would happen. I think a lot of the things that I want to speak to are just gaps in knowledge. Like, we can find this information. Yes, there's very little research in women's health compared to other areas of health, unfortunately, but there is research on so many different important topics that's out there and available. And so my goal is just to be that megaphone, helping women understand what to think about, how to prepare. There's really simple things that we can do along the way, even if you have no desire to be a mom anytime soon or maybe ever. We really still want to be taking care of our body, taking care of our reproductive health. And one of the quotes that I think is really important to share is that fertility is a marker for overall health. And we'll touch on that in future episodes for sure. I have one of my favorite women's health experts that's coming on the show that's going to be talking all about fertility, ovarian reserve, PCOS, egg freezing. So if that's important to anyone who's listening, like, please know that there's going to be information around that. And I love optimizing health. I love feeling good in my body. So we'll have information around peptides. I want to help women prepare for perimenopause and menopause, and even just know what's going on and what's on the horizon, even if you're nowhere near that time, because we know that our 30s are the critical decade, 30s and 40s, for really preparing for how well we're going to feel when we're 50, 60 and onwards.
So true.
So preserving that health and vitality right now is so important. So fertility, perimenopause, brain health, heart health. I'm actually going to have someone speak on heart health specifically, because this is another thing. I know we've probably all heard, like, you know, cardiovascular health is the silent killer of women. And to me, I want to know why, right? Like, why is that the case? Why has that been something that we've heard over and over and over again? And so we're actually going to be talking about how heart attacks feel different for men versus women. And no one ever knows this, right? So again, just a knowledge gap. Once we know, we can do better and we can spot some of these things. So those are just a few things that we can expect from this first season.
I mean, just from listening to that and like what to expect, I am so excited, because it gives us an opportunity to be able to understand, know more than we've been just taught through school, or maybe that we've seen online, and to really just come from a place of like feeling empowered, knowing that we're going into this next season of health, whether that's fertility, perimenopause, menopause, or just longevity in general, from an empowered place. I remember what I was going to say earlier, and it came back, was I just wanted to acknowledge you for the fact that your vulnerability on sharing that you're doing this despite feeling fearful, and that you're building in real time, and just stepping out. And you're not just stepping out for yourself, but I think you're also stepping out and for women in general. So thank you for that.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. And what I would love to know next too is, why do we even need a separate category for women's health? You mentioned, fertility, heart health. Isn't it all the same in the health space?
I hear that question so often, and it's not. It's so different. So a few things that I want to share on that topic is, I think women's health has been so understudied and under-researched. It's only been like a couple of decades, I want to say, since women of reproductive age have been included in clinical studies. So previously it was men and postmenopausal women who were included. And so we know that research is lacking, but thankfully now, because we're having these conversations and talking about the importance of knowing and supporting women from the ages of, let's say, teenage years through menopause, right? It's the entire largest portion of a woman's life has been under-researched. And one of the things that I love teaching is cycle syncing and the cycle syncing methods. So really understanding and helping women understand how our bodies work and how we function through all the cycles and seasons and changes that we go through. And even just through the phases of the menstrual cycle, from luteal to menstrual to follicular and ovulation. I think it's this beautiful cycle that happens. There's a time for renewal. There's a time for energy. There's a time to pursue your goals. I know you're aligned on that.
I'm in my luteal right now, and all I want to do is cuddle.
That's why you're great at asking questions and grounding all the energy that I'm feeling right now, because I'm in the follicular and I feel great, and I just want to go for a run right now is how I'm feeling. But honoring that and understanding how our bodies work, I think is so beautiful. It's such a beautiful opportunity to really also honor our body and how it works as a gift. I think for the longest time, especially in corporate, I have just historically a really challenging cycle. I have had, since the very first cycle that I've had, a really, really challenging, hard time with cramps, with just how I feel on the first few days of my cycle. And when I was in corporate, I used to think of it as such a detriment. I was like, this is such a setback. I can't believe I feel this poorly every single month, and I sacrifice all this productivity and my goals, right? Marina in her 20s was just so goal-oriented to a fault probably. And now, as I'm in my mid-30s, really shifting that and knowing that this is a gift if I recognize it as such. And also, a lot of the symptoms that I was feeling back then, you don't have to be feeling. I don't feel those symptoms anymore. So that's, I think, another area where women are taught to just accept that, the pain and the mood swings and all of these things are just a given. They're actually not. We can feel so much better. And again, there's very simple things that we can do to improve that. And once you do, you can finally start to notice how we can honor these phases. We can give ourselves a break. We can batch content. We can schedule meetings at very specific points in our month. We can negotiate at very specific points in our month. And it doesn't have to be this, continuous, nonstop, push kind of way of living. That is one of the easiest ways to burn out. So living in tune with our cycles, I think, is a beautiful opportunity for women. This is also why I wanted to do seasons of the show, because for me, thinking about continuously putting out content and always being on, it just doesn't land well in my body. Intuitively, that was a no, but seasons feel really good. And one other thing on women's health is I recently taught a cycle syncing workshop here in Austin, and I invited men and they were the most engaged. So I had maybe 70% women in the room, 30% men, and the men were the ones asking the most questions. They were on the edge of their seat. And you don't have to look further to confirm this difference of why women's health exists from just looking at a male hormonal graph versus a woman's hormonal graph and how vastly different they are. So true. I love teaching this. I love talking about this. And I think it's just the time for women's health. I think it's 2026 especially. I'm so optimistic about where it's going.
100%. I love that there is this light and focus that is being put on women's health now, and understanding and grace. And when it comes to working with our cycles, it's so right. We have our infradian and circadian rhythm. Men run on 24 hours. We run on 28 days.
That's right.
And the fact that it's like like right now, like you're in your follicular, which I like to say is springtime.
Yeah.
So you're like, I want to be out there and like doing cartwheels and bright and sunny. Whereas I'm in my luteal, which is like more great for like reflective ones. I like to call it as like our fall time. And like even incorporating seasons into that. And follicular, spring, ovulation, summer, follicular, fall, menstruation, winter.
Luteal, fall, menstruation, winter. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that's what I said. Did I say that? I don't even know what I said right now. But understanding that we aren't meant to work like men every day, the 9 to 5, and it's okay if we feel, let's say, 40% that day during our luteal or menstrual, and if we give our 40%, that's our 100.
Exactly. And I think you're touching on something important, because I used to, again, back when I thought that this was like something that's detrimental to my progress in life and all the things that I want to accomplish. And now, like, completely flipping that to, I actually get more done when I live in tune with my body and give it what it needs. When Absolutely. I let it recharge, when it's asking for rest, I actually get more done on the other side of like that full, abundant break that I can give myself. And similarly, you know, if you're in that time and that season of your life where you're feeling high energy and you're excited and you just feel filled up with whatever is you're accomplishing, like, go for it. You know, like, I give myself grace too to have a 12-hour day when I'm up for it and when I know I'm going to be sharp and focused and, you know, create some great connections around town and set up the meetings that I need to have. Like, there's a time for that too. So you can also give yourself grace with those days and just know, like, I'll rest, right? At the end of this week, let's say, and then once I rest, I'll be fully recharged and I'll be back at it. I actually just talked to someone who connected with a large public figure influencer. His team is all women. And my friend jumped on that call and he was like, whoa, you know, I'm talking to like all women leaders that lead this guy's organization. And then he asked him and he was like, women get it done. And I think that's the benefit of our brain and how we're wired. We can hold so much. We process so much at all times. I think that's given to us because we have the capacity to be mothers, right? And do so much for the family unit that our brain is literally wired to be achieving, to be creating, right? We're creative. We are thoughtful. We do so much. So again, I think that's another gift of female biology that we can know about and learn about and feel grateful for.
Oh, love being a woman. That's so great.
We need a brain that can actually keep up with the demands of the day. This is why I'm so excited to share that the first season of the Exhale podcast is sponsored by Wisby Genius Strips. They support focus, clarity, and mental speed, helping you stay consistent and sharp throughout the day. What I love most is that they're caffeine-free, which matters, especially for women, because we know that women's bodies and our hormonal ecosystem are much more sensitive to stress and to overstimulation from caffeine. Genius Strips are built with clinically studied ingredients at effective doses. They're ultra thin, fast release strips that you can take anywhere, and you don't even need water. They just melt in your mouth and start to work within 30 minutes to deliver the focus that you need. Designed by a neuroscientist and built for daily use, most people start with a 30-day supply. And right now you can get 15% off with the code EXHALE15 at checkout at wisby.com. That's WIZBE.com.
Can you also, like, kind of going back to what you touched on earlier about burnout? What is that like? What does it look like, and what is it meant for you?
Yeah. So I think we already talked about like some of those signs and symptoms, and maybe just to double down on that a little bit, because I think the signs of burnout will probably feel there's some similarities, but they'll feel different for different people and different women, right? So for me, heart palpitations is the first thing that's like this alarm that goes off in my body. That's how I know that cortisol has been high. Maybe I'm not sleeping well and I'm not recovering well, and there's just too much on my plate. I would say that's probably one of the more kind of severe ones. But I think a lot of the women in my life and that I've coached before are prone to that for sure. So for me, it's that, and it's the physical tension that I feel that is hard to get rid of, right? So even if we get massages and body work, the mind-body connection is so intertwined, it's so interconnected, that if you have a high enough mental load, that stress will come down into the body. Even if you're, you know, kind of moving and taking care of yourself and doing the right things for the body, it's also about minimizing some of that mental load and the mental burden that we have. And I think for women, one of the big lead ups to burnout is an inability to say no. It's not setting the right boundaries. So less so like a signal physically, but more so like interpersonally. I see a pattern in a lot of women, myself included in the past, where we have a hard time saying no. We take on so much. And so of course we're not going to feel our best. Like it's impossible to be taking on things for so many people and saying yes to so many projects and opportunities and not feel depleted. Right. So I think that's important to mention. And then the other thing beyond like some of those obvious tension, stress, sleep symptoms that a lot of women feel, I also want to say that you can also experience burnout from a place of passion and drive. So I think a lot of times people think about burnout as something that happens when you have a toxic boss or a toxic work environment, or you're just under a lot of this like negative, heavy stress and pressure. But burnout can actually happen from a place of just being really driven and excited about what you're building. So the way I've heard this put before is passion is a risk factor for burnout. And I think that's also important for, you know, for example, like you and I are surrounded by so many amazing, ambitious people here in Austin that are doing great things. And I always want to remind people that that's still a place to really be mindful of how are you recovering? How are you feeling? How are you sleeping? How are you eating? I think our hunger signals are a big signal in the body around just like our energy and just what's going on internally. I think nowadays a lot of people will track their sleep and their fitness. I think there's a lot of great biomarkers there that we can look to, such as heart rate variability. If it's low and you're young, that's probably telling us that something's going on in the body, like you're just maybe pushing too hard. And so I always want to take that approach as well, that even if you love what you're doing and you love your life, you still want to be mindful of and think about rest and recovery and replenishing how much energy you're putting out.
So true. There's times where I can have a really full week and then also a full weekend. And come Sunday night, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm exhausted, even though I'm so happy and filled. But it's not giving us or myself the space to just exhale for a moment. And so just to recap on those burnout, you said heart palpitations. What was the second one?
I mean, it's a few things, right? Physical tension, mental load, inability to fall asleep well. I think that's another one that is really worth mentioning too. If you are someone who has any sort of challenges with sleep, I see this again, a lot of men and women, but with women, because of that mental load, because we are processing so much, our brain can hold so much. We know that the women's brain hemispheres are more interconnected. We have the capacity to hold so much. I know for me, I don't forget a lot of things. Like I will keep bookmarks. My brain will keep bookmarks on behalf of other people. Like it's not even my thing to worry about, but I will remember it and I will follow up and I will care. And all of that is contributing to our mental load, right? I think of it as like open tabs on your computer.
Yeah. How many tabs do you have open on yours?
Right now, I'm maybe like 8.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Not like 50.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like 8.
I think I'm on the 50 side.
But yeah, and those are the things that I notice in myself and my clients, but I think it's also important for someone to know what that is in them. So another common one could be jaw tension and pelvic floor tension. And those two parts of the body, surprisingly, are very connected. And in a lot of women, I see that pelvic floor tension rebounds up and they clench their teeth during sleep. Yeah. Maybe they notice that they grind their teeth, or they just wake up with those tension headaches and migraines. So that's one thing to notice. But really knowing like what are your personal signs and symptoms when stress is going on for too long, what's your kind of alarm system in your body, and really paying attention to that. Like, right, it's like we have the check engine light on in the car and we don't actually want to drive right past a certain point. But we do that with our bodies for some reason continuously. Like we push past some of these signals. So I think it also is about like us drawing a line with ourselves and saying like, if I notice this, I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah. So I think we so often talk about drawing boundaries with people, sometimes energy. But it sounds like we also get to draw those boundaries with ourselves. Yeah. And not get to that point of exhaustion or burnout. Yeah. And so with that, why are you so passionate about breath work?
As I take a big breath in and a big exhale.
If you haven't breathed in like 10 minutes, take a deep breath and relax your pelvic floor.
Exactly. That's such a good reminder for everyone. As I just touched on the pelvic floor, like notice what's going on in your body right now if you're listening, right? How's your jaw feeling? How are the muscles in the face? What's going on with the pelvic floor? Some people have a hard time identifying the pelvic floor. It is what you're seated on. So it's the muscles at the base of the spine, between the sit bones. A lot of people pull up on this, which is why, one of the reasons, there's many reasons why I call this show the exhale, but one of the reasons is the exhale becomes this great opportunity to just like shift around and let some stuff go. Yeah. So we just did it. If you don't see us, just shift around, wiggle around, let some stuff go with a nice long exhale. So among so many reasons why breathwork is an amazing tool for women, it's one of the best ways for us to connect back with ourselves. So even touching back on the concept of purposeful stress, because I was doing so many things for other people and I was saying yes to so many projects, and I was so externally focused when I was living and working in New York at WeWork headquarters. And before that, I didn't connect with myself. I had no opportunities and practices where I would just drop in with myself. Even things like exercise classes and yoga classes, of course, at a certain point, they're helpful for us to be with ourselves too. But especially in big cities, I mean, we're in like a 50-person class, right? There's probably music blasting still. There's a 1-minute shavasana at the end that's like supposed to be this respite from 12 hours of being on the go, right? It's not enough. And I think that even the discernment that comes with, what am I pursuing? Am I living my life for other people? Am I reaching goals for others, right? Or am I doing something that's actually meaningful to me? That discernment comes with slowing down, quieting the mind, and connecting with your body. And I really think about the coaching that I do as very much a body-based approach, because breathwork itself is a somatic therapy. So if someone's not heard that term before, there's talk therapy, which is amazing. It is when a therapist guides you through various exercises, journaling, and different ways to understand, your upbringing, your background, the events in your life. But what's often missed is what's going on below the neck. And there's so much research that now supports the fact that a lot of those stories, the tension patterns, traumatic events, stress lives in different parts of the body, like pelvic floor, like different organs and tissues, like our upper back, our traps, our neck. And all of that is overlooked unless we do something to connect with the body, right? So I always tell people that talking is actually not enough. We want to engage the body, whether that's mindful movement, whether that's breath work, where you're actually feeling and sensing your internal state. I think the breathing process and being mindful of it, especially working with a trained practitioner who's guiding you through different ways of breathing that are intentional, it's helping you drop out of those mental tabs and that mental load. And I think one of the biggest things that I often hear from women who come to a class or do a session with me is that they notice this calmness of the mind that they haven't felt in a really long time. So it's kind of like this perfect way to close some of those tabs while also releasing the tension that's pent up in the body, while also being able to express and talk about what you're noticing with someone.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could talk on the breathwork topic forever, but just like taking this route, you know, from burnout and stress and then landing in purposeful stress is always going to be there.
Yeah.
But having a practice that's going to catch you in those moments of your week where you really need to process, to just spend time with yourself, to just quiet the mind, to not be so externally focused and take some of that inward perspective. It's just the best opportunity that I've found among so many different modalities that I've tried.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. And when you think about how many of us are living in our mind all the time, and how it feels different when you move from the mind into the body and feel safe to be in our body. I think that's even like another thing. And so I just like, so from what you're sharing so far, it's the burnout and then using breath work, which is so accessible all the time. So aside from the women that you have mentioned that may be experiencing burnout, who else do you think will benefit from listening to this podcast?
So I think I always double down on this term of ambitious women, and that's just because I think I'm surrounded by a lot of us who are multi-passionate.
Yeah.
So I think having a healthy sense of ambition and desire for achievement is wonderful, even if that is something that, you know, maybe society tries to kind of put women in a box, right? It's like you're either one way or another. You're either in your masculine or you're in your feminine. You're either a CEO or you're a mom.
Or in your soft girl era.
Yeah. And it's like, why do we have to choose? That's the question that I always come back to. So I think this show and those who, you know, find me and work with me, what resonates most with them is being able to be multifaceted and not be just this one specific archetype, because this is one life. Like, this is the only chance we get, right? So why not go for it? Why not create something that you care about in a work sense or a philanthropic sense? Or again, I really resonate with the word legacy, right? Whatever that looks like to a woman. And at the same time, also have great health, also have a great relationship and motherhood, if that's something that appeals to you, right? I think we, especially now in 2026, we can do so much, right? There's so much that's available to us that hasn't ever before. If I think about the women in my lineage and my ancestry, I'm from Ukraine. I'm actually an immigrant. I grew up in Ukraine until I was 9. And then we moved to Chicago after winning a green card in a lottery. And so a lot of my worldview, I think, is shaped by that, like the anything is possible mentality. And I just want to share that with more women. So if that resonates with someone, or if maybe you've ever felt frustrated by having to have that choice, like it's one or the other, I always say create a third choice, and it's both.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not?
Right? And so, you know, I think someone like yourself too, you know, I see this in you and so many of our other female friends. It's like that multi-passionate, ambitious, but nurturing, caring, and loving archetype can coexist. I think even with your work, right? You are someone who is really polished and well-spoken and kind and poised. And you also speak on topics like sexual health and sexual literacy for women, right? Which I think a lot of times we don't often see those put together.
Yeah.
And so many of us are, you know, spiritual, but also really intellectually curious and science oriented. And so I don't know, I guess I'm here to be a little bit of a rebel in the sense of, you know what, if someone tells you that you can't do something, turn around and do it and prove them wrong.
Absolutely. And I think there's like, instead of trying to fit into a box, we all have range.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of beauty in having range. And I think there's, just as there's a masculine and feminine, there's a polarity. And so I'd love to ask you, what's within you that is like polar opposites, whether that's, I'd say you're into health, but then like also love to have a binge of a night.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that's you.
Oh my gosh. It's such a good question. And you know what I always think about is like, am I an extrovert or am I an introvert? And I really think that I'm like this 50-50. Like it's not 49-51. It's like 50-50 because I do so much as far as events go. Like I'm so social. I love that. And I really love spending time by myself.
Yeah.
And maybe this is such a great question. Thank you for asking, because I think before I had a practice like breathwork and I was able to be with myself and enjoy being with myself, this introvert side felt really uncomfortable. Like I couldn't sit still. I couldn't put work down. I had to be productive in some way at all times. And now I'm really enjoying being able to like flex the two and really know, like, for example, here in Austin, we just had South by Southwest. That was like, I think I was on for about 11 days, going to everything, hosting, talking, speaking, and it was so exciting. And I had just such a lovely 4 days after of like just spending time with myself, decompressing. I put off all my follow-ups. I didn't do them for probably 2 weeks after. Yeah. And I didn't have this sense, like I really wanted to make sure to give myself this break of like, there's the little voice in your head that'll say like, you'll miss out, right? Or like, you have to do this now, or like the opportunity will be gone. And I'm like, you know what? That's not the case. No. Everything that's meant for me will be there for me. And
what's for you will not miss you.
Exactly. What is for you will not miss you. And so I think the ability to flex both, be extroverted when the time calls for it, and be introverted and be with yourself and be happy doing that.
Yeah.
That's another gift that I want to give more people in general, is the ability to be still and be present just with yourself and be okay with that and enjoy that time. Because finding that has led to so much more peace and like ease in my body and in my being, where I can know that even if I'm by myself, I'm probably going to enjoy that time thoroughly.
Absolutely. Just like how you can't have the inhale without the exhale.
You need both.
And so I love that you're always up to speed when it comes to women's health, whether that's peptides, fertility, cardiovascular, breath work. What else do you think you're right, but early on?
So this is a fun take, but I think that eventually men and women both in our early 20s will freeze our eggs and sperm. And I think that's going to take so much pressure off of our later like career years and create so much more opportunity, because that's one of the big gaps, those knowledge gaps that I'm trying to close, is I think right now we're a little late to the game when it comes with preparing for either motherhood, fertility, or I'll call them our elder years.
Yeah.
And so having some of that knowledge and information earlier is going to be so helpful for us to not feel that stress and pressure. And then we can create from a little bit more of a space of ease. So obviously costs are a factor here, but I just think that as we grow and evolve and have health be more part of the conversation from a younger age, I think both men and women get to preserve that option for them, whether they choose to take it or not later on down the road. But that's just something that I hope becomes more normalized. And especially also sperm freezing.
Love that. Because we really talk, you hear a lot about egg freezing, but not so much on the sperm side. I mean, I think there's things right now that are surfacing and how it's not just the egg quality.
It's not.
Because our egg quality, I believe, like the egg itself, whether that's more or less, stays the same. It's the sperm later on too. And it's really 50-50 in terms of the health of the future baby. And I love that it's really empowering us again from a younger age. But imagine if we had sex health in 7th grade, instead of trying to put a banana on a condom, a condom on a banana, and STDs, if it was how do you extend both egg and sperm health for a longer time.
And again, thinking about how fertility is a marker for overall health, that's only going to benefit both genders in every way, right? It's not even just about being parents. And I will have an episode specific to this conversation as well. So I'm so excited to share that.
So excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really excited for that one too. And so going back to what like you're early but right on, what's a hill that you will die on, Marina?
So again, this is maybe an unusual take, but hear me out. I think sperm health is women's health. And again, with everything that I talk about in the world of fertility with ambitious women that I work with, so much of the pressure is on women, both with egg fertilization, right? With IVF, with, carrying a pregnancy to term. A lot of that pressure is really all resting on the shoulders of women right now. When now, to the research that you alluded to, there's new research that's coming out that really shows us that while maybe the quantity of eggs decreases as women grow older, their actual quality seems to be preserved. And if I can find that study, I'll link it in the show notes. And then it's actually sperm health that we also want to be mindful of, because it's 50-50. It takes a healthy sperm and a healthy egg to lead to a healthy pregnancy. And so if we open up the conversation around fertility as a whole, this becomes part of women's health, because from a stress perspective, it's going to lower that pressure that we feel. It's going to lower the stress that women experience in this whole area, which I found to be really beneficial to the women that I've supported who have gone through IVF. When we can minimize the pressure that they feel through that process, we come out with more favorable outcomes, right? So sperm health is women's health.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that more later on in the season.
Oh my God, that sounds really juicy.
This is definitely also feeling like something that I'm ripe early on.
Y'all heard it here first, okay? On the XL podcast. Yeah. I love that. Because you're right, like we need both together, and taking that stress off of her, because stress is also a factor on her fertility too. And sharing the responsibility. I've seen this really funny video of this guy, actually not funny, sweet video of this guy asking his partner, it's like, babe, if you're going to carry this baby for 9 months, like, what do I have to do too?
Love that.
And that's such a beautiful question to ask, because his sperm health also affects her even fertility and pregnancy process and journey.
And on that topic, I hope that the women listening to this show, if you have a partner or if you are looking to have a partner in the future, right? We know that that's one of the single best decisions that we can make for our longevity, for our career success, for so many things in life. But share these episodes with the men in your life, right? The fertility episode, please share that with them. Obviously, the sperm health one is an obvious one, but cardiovascular health risks, why wouldn't we want the men in our life to know and be able to support us in that, right? I think part of the show is opening up this conversation. I think a lot of these topics have been in the shadows for so many past generations. Women and men were not talking about this. And the approach that I take is like, we are suffering, people are dying, people are hurt, people are lonely, people are afraid of some of these outcomes. And all we really need to do is open up this conversation and close some of these knowledge gaps that exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Bringing men in on the conversation too. If the women listening to this right now are completely running on empty, What's one thing you'd want her to hear before she hits play on episode 2?
I would want her to know that it gets so much better. And I always share that with everyone who finds me in whatever stage in life they're at, no matter how depleted or discouraged you feel, how much you feel like there is to overcome, it gets so much better. I'm living proof of that. So many women that I've coached before are living proof of that. Our body wants to change and adapt in the direction of health. As soon as we start to do small things and make these small changes in our day-to-day routine that we'll talk about in subsequent episodes, things start to improve. Whether it's fertility, it starts to return, your sleep, how you feel just on a day-to-day basis, your confidence level, how calm and at peace you feel throughout the day, the tension, the clenching, the tightness, whatever it is you're experiencing in your body, it can resolve, right? It can improve. And I think a lot of times, you know, and even me in the past with some of the more challenging moments that I've gone through, we and our brain, our mind tends to tell us, right, like this is so bad and I don't see a way out and what are we going to do? How are we going to change this, right? That's the natural place where our mind wants to take us. Yeah. And so it's really up to us to learn and to know and to practice any small things that you can do for yourself starting today really add up in a meaningful way. And so I guess like simple tools that people could start doing is practicing low, slow, deep breathing. There's practices on my YouTube, Women Who Breathe, and womenwhobreathe.com. The community that I've built has courses around cycle syncing and intuition and breathwork practices that you can just access. Those are free. So there is a paid tier, but on the free tier, you can have access to all of this. So you can start right now and you can start to feel better day by day. It's probably not going to shift in a day or in a week, right? Especially if you've been feeling depleted for some time. But I think that's one message that I want everyone to take away is our body is so resilient, especially as women, and it gets so much better.
It does. We've only experienced the best so far, and it really, truly does get better. And it just takes one small step sometimes. And what I also love about what you shared is a lot of these things of feeling better, like breath work, like nutrition, like sleep, are all things that we can take control of today and isn't something where we need to reach externally. So thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Tammy. This was so fun.
This is so fun.
I love this. This is so great. Yeah. And we'll have, like we shared, so many great topics to cover in the future episodes of this first season and more seasons to come.
We are in for a treat.
Yeah. I'm really excited to have you on this journey, just in general in life.
Likewise.
Yeah.
I love watching you blossom.
Oh, that's so sweet. Amazing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for creating this.
Thank you for tuning in to the Exhale podcast. If you love this episode, share it with a friend and leave a quick review so other women who deserve to know this information can discover it. If you've been searching for resources to support your health, hormones, and stress level, you'll find the information to join our Austin-based or online community in the show notes and at womenwhobreathe.com. You can also find us at the.exhale.podcast on Instagram. The community is for smart, successful women who want to recharge, and you'll find courses, recordings, and live breathwork sessions. It's open for women from all over the world, and I hope to have you breathe with us soon.